What's up, daytime, whole block of ghost town, ghost ride, ghost face, G's get ghost.
Everybody knows the legends. Wu-Tang, Outkast, Tribe. But the blueprints you've never heard? That's where the real treasure is. Tonight, we're digging into 15 hip-hop groups the algorithm forgot. The crews your favorite MCs studied in silence. From Queen's Science Labs to LA jazz workshops. From noise rap walls of sound to UK pioneers who made British accents standard. We're mapping the secret family tree of hip-hop. If you think you've heard it all, this list will rewire your rotation. These aren't side quests, they're foundation stones. We're talking organized confusion surgical rhyme architecture, Freestyle Fellowship's breath-defying cadences, Company Flow's anti-gloss manifesto, all the way to London Posse rewriting the rules across the pond. This is Hip Hop Lore. Subscribe, hit the bell, and let's drop the needle on 15 greatest hip-hop groups you've never heard of. And stick around to the end. I'm shouting out your sleeper picks for part 2.
It hurts. We kick the hurts to the curb. Execute first things first and put blunted minds to work. My hurt side.
F.O.R.C.E, Monch, and Prince Po approached verses like architects. Internal rhymes braced against multisyllabics, cadences shifting mid-bar to wedge in new angles of meaning. On Stress, there's no wasted motion. Drums hit like pressure points. The bass line walks with intent, and the syllables lock to the pocket so tightly the flow itself becomes percussion.
Radio 20 times per day. My perception of poetical injection is ejaculation.
Across Stress, the extinction agenda, concepts aren't gimmicks but scaffolding. Stray Bullet narrates a slug's flight with such clarity you feel the air tear. Rigor fused to urgency means you hear the same song differently with each pass. First the alliteration, then the metaphor chains, then the breath control, then the ad-libs prodding the beat.
Crush, kill, destroy, stress.
Even rappers who don't sound like them learn to build like them. Verses as structures, not streams. Lay Meet Park's Good Life Cafe was a proving ground where breath control, time feel, and diction were weapons as sharp as punchlines. Inner City Griots captures speed and stillness. A C Alone unspooling double-time patterns that never smear. Micah 9 bending phrases across barleans like a horn player. P.E.A.K. and Self Jupiter switching cadences mid-stride without breaking the loop.
It's better when she sang with the pips, and when it comes to strength, I'm surely of the stronger, and when it comes to
Inner City Boundaries is the thesis. Jazz phrasing over a steady sway, a hook that lands like a handshake, verses that dance in and out of the kick and snare as if syncopation were a conversation. The point wasn't to rap fast, it was to expand the palette, to prove hip-hop could move with bebop's elasticity and still hit with street-level clarity. Their shadow stretches long. Project Blode's lineage, LA's refusal to reduce jazz plurap to cliché, and a generation who learned the metronome is a guide, not a cage. Built on a shoestring and somehow eternal, Masters of the Universe is proof that constraint can be craft's best friend. Dusty soul loops, drum programming that prizes feel over flash, and two voices, one below and Senim Cella, trading verses with a calm that reads as confidence.
But one policy is quality. Never sell my soul as my philosophy. High velocity, lyrics like
Reality Check distills the approach. Plain-spoken wisdom, syllables tucked neatly into the snare's pocket, a hook that hums without shouting. No reaching for novelty, just clean writing, unforced storytelling, and basement-warm production.
prophecy. I told these cats a long time ago, it ain't no stopping me. About me said that's not a threat, it's a problem.
Reality Check distills the approach. Plain-spoken wisdom, syllables tucked neatly into the snare's pocket, a hook that hums without shouting. No reaching for novelty, just clean writing, unforced storytelling, and basement-warm production.
Searching for my styles like Job Corps, coming home on work release, shoplifting at the rack store.
Fun Crusher Plus made independence a sound. Metallic drums, paranoid synths, negative space you can feel pressing on your ribs. 8 Steps to Perfection teaches you to hear this world. LP's grids lurch forward instead of swinging. The bass crowds instead of cuddling. Big Just slices diagonals through the beat. Mr. Len turns absence into pressure.
But Sam still ain't nothing but a hero. just a small sample of the abstract.
What they rejected, shiny gloss, obvious hooks, was as crucial as what they embraced. Abrasion as texture, density as depth, vision as organizing principle. Not underground as romance, but independent in the literal sense, they built a sonic and business infrastructure that later powered a label and a generation unafraid of the dark.
You got to get your dollars on, 'cause it's on like that. Here's what I want you to do.
A blueprint for making the margins the main event without sanding off a single edge. Winter in Harlem rendered as myth. Over LP's frostbitten production, vast air and Vordool Mega write in angles, Polaroid images taped into place until a city emerges. Iron Galaxy is the portal, drums that stomp more than bounce, synths glowing like streetlights in fog, a push and pull where one voice lopes while the other draws tight, both tethered to a handmade meter. The language is painterly, rusted out G-trains, pigeons and pylons, hunger and honor. And the flows refuse to flatter the beat. They wrestle it until a new groove falls out. What sounded alien at release feels inevitable now. Dystopian textures of the 2000s underground. Writers balancing cold reportage with surreal reach. The insistence you can world build without a single sunny chord. The cold vein doesn't end. It hangs in the air like weather.
Using like a barrel, barrel to touch the case, split through travels like a rapper. And what? Rappers want to bring it to
New York still smelled like Park Jam vinyl and subway dust when the arsonists arrived with a mission. Put the crew back at the center of the record. 5 distinct voices trading handoffs like a relay team. Cuts and chants working like stage cues. And hooks shaped by routines rather than radio math.
Sloppy, refer to me as sloppy. Malaki of your style, I make a mockery of.
Pyromaniacs is the calling card. High-velocity bars stacked tight, then punctuated by DJ theatrics that feel ripped from an outdoor cipher. What makes the track hit isn't just speed, it's staging. You can hear verses planned like entrances and exits, ad-libs functioning as spotlights, and crowd call phrasing baked into the cadence.
Lyrically, I'm cocky. You sloppy, refer to me as sloppy.
The drums are spring-loaded. The bass line moves like a line dance you already know. And each MC chooses a different pocket. One blunt, one elastic, one percussive. So the beat keeps renewing itself without changing patterns.
And what? We know the floor of the spot. Pyromaniacs.
In an era pivoting hard toward solo star power, arsonists pressed the b-boy theater of a live show to wax and reminded everyone that hip-hop began as a team sport.
Like street lights on nights with mics and lateral battle moves to all crews, MCs.
If arsonists are choreography, anti-pop are architecture. What Am I treats flow as sculpture and the beat as negative space. The kick and snare are skeletal, almost provisional. Synths arrive as thin lines of light. Words come clipped and angled, daring you to find the grid they refuse to announce.
Grew to a man spitting on tracks with a bottle and a limp, a wrinkle map, a screaming throttle, and 2 cents to dent.
This is where abstract poetics met electronic minimalism without apology. Verses stack unusual stresses, internal rhymes slide over bar lines, and images flash like frames from a glitching projector. The hook doesn't sing so much as define the room you're standing in.
That's up like a nymph. No sentiment is imminent. My embitterment in the many metaphors I cash in, collapse MCs to the blood.
It sounded alien in 2000 because it wasn't chasing warmth or nostalgia. It was designing a new listening habit, attention to edges, to the silence between events, to the moment a consonant lands slightly ahead of the snare and changes the bar's center of gravity.
This is an aspen and a bubble bath laughing. Your style, no dough like no idea, check cashing. Leave it alone.
Long after the novelty of avant rap wore off, anti-pop's lesson endures. The studio can be a gallery, and a verse can hang on the wall as a line, a shadow, a shape. This video is sponsored by the Lore Store on Amazon, your one-stop shop for music lovers across reggae, rock, pop, and hip-hop. We built it for real listeners who don't want to dig through 1,000 listings to find the right gear. Inside the Lore Store, you'll find 5 aisles. VIP, top, battle-tested essentials. Headphones, turntables, speakers, gig-safe earplugs, smart speakers. Reggae vibe, roots and lovers. Rock made easy, automatic decks, warm bookshelf speakers, vinyl care. Rock lore, classic rock must-haves. Open back cans, simple amps, living room concert vibes. F.O.R.C.E, feel-good everyday setups, clean, clear speakers, easy streaming, nostalgia-friendly picks. Hip-hop must-haves, punchy bass without the muddle, closed-back headphones and living room systems that handle low-end, plus a rotating crate of old album vinyl if you're rebuilding a 60s-90s collection. Every product page tells you who it's for, 3 pros, 1 con, and why we picked it. So you can choose with confidence. Flying soon? Check. VIP for noise cancelling that tames plane roar. Mostly listening at home? Try open-back headphones that let live albums breathe. Want instant gratification vinyl? Our fully automatic turntable is 1 button from silence to music, and the record cleaning kit knocks down crackle so the bass tightens up. Headed to shows? Grab high-fidelity earplugs, hands-free at home. Our smart speaker picks let you say, play 70s reggae or classic pop, and you're there. Deal alert! If you use the link in the description, you'll land on our curated picks with current best available Amazon pricing and active discounts where applicable. Prices change, so buy now to lock in today's deal. Tap the link in the description, pick your aisle, grab a favorite, and tell me which category you want me to build next. The Lore Store. Listen better, with gear that gets out of the way and lets the music live.
Who left this mark on this Casey's rhyme? If stars align, I suppose even the blind will see.
Turn the system up until the room shakes, and you'll understand why Delic's world had to be built this way. Distorted Prose is noise rap, not as gimmick, but as grammar. Shoegaze walls of sound, industrial grit, and a polemical through line that treats texture as argument. The kick doesn't sit under the mix, it tunnels through it. High band noise isn't there to annoy, it's there to denature the ear's comfort so the words can land sharper.
Full wine is wild when it dreams. Mine are filled with ill visions and certain dope things.
The vocal sits forward, grain intact, while the beat blooms into a pressure system that keeps expanding, even when the drums are minimal. You hear dub logic in the depth field, post-rock patience in the build, and hip-hop discipline in the bar-by-bar focus. It's a headphones labyrinth and a subwoofer stress test, but also a reminder that politically charged writing doesn't need slogans when the sonic weather already tells the truth of the environment it was made in.
Christmas Day when your mama got...
Amid the early 2000s arms race for shock and spectacle, Blackalicious doubled down on radiance. Gift of Gab's breath control is legendary. The syllables tumble but never tangle, enunciation crisp at any tempo, yet Make You Feel That Way succeeds because the virtuosity serves welcome.
Felt winning championship game, celebrate in a huddle, dancing in this rain. Have a thought, see a shooting star across your screen. Put in...
Chief XL builds a bed of warm roads, buoyant bass, and crisp drums that breathe. Small instrumental flourishes open windows rather than crowd the room. The writing is observational, granular, pointedly kind, a roll call of everyday grace that stays specific enough to feel lived. Listen to how Gab's internal rhymes ride the hi-hat, how his cadences soften at the ends of phrases so lines land like nods rather than shouts, how the hook circles back like a mantra. It's proof you can be technically devastating and emotionally generous at the same time, and that positivity doesn't have to dilute power when the craft is this exact. Where some indie rap chases singles, cunning linguists build worlds. The Gates sits near the front of A Piece of Strange for a reason. It announces scale. Nose production pulls Southern soul through Gothic arches, choir-like pads, spectral samples, drums that feel hand-played even when they're tight to the grid.
It's funny how we move in sudden directions. Dedicated my life to the public's protection. Never remarried.
The verses move like a pilgrimage. Narrative details sequence to reveal character rather than merely posture. Imagery and allegory are blended until you feel both a long road and a moral weight underfoot. The hook doesn't just summarize. It frames the chapter you've entered, preparing you for the album's climb from doubt to reckoning. What elevates it from strong track to keystone is arrangement discipline. Drops that serve the story, backing vocals that work like camera cuts, and a low end that stays patient so the words can carry. It's cinematic without bloat, spiritual without sermonizing, the sound of an indie group trusting long-form storytelling more than algorithms.
I'm in a welfare frog case. When she breathes, she swear it feel like plastic wrap around her face.
Oakland has always welded rhythm to resistance, and the coup turned that weld into a shine. Underdogs from Steel. This album is the thesis. Boots Riley's razor pen writing funk-rich drums, bass that moves like a marching line, and a hook engineered for mass chant without ever dumbing down the message.
Feel like swinging haymakers at a moving truck. You feel like laughing, so it seems like you don't.
Boots writes like a novelist with a bullhorn. Scenes, not slogans. Lives, not abstractions. He sketches the gig economy before we had the phrase for it. Maps the daily calculus of people boxed in by rent, probation, and predatory work, and then tucks those specifics into a groove that refuses despair. The beat matters because it welcomes. The writing matters because it names.
Make the hunger subside. Save the real food for your daughter. You feel like swinging haymakers at a moving truck.
Listen to how the bass line softens under key images. How the backing vocals step forward on the word we. How the snare stiffens when the verse pivots from portrait to policy. It's protest music you can dance to. Satire you can memorize. A class critique with unforgettable hooks. Long before political rap became a tag, the coup proved you could make the floor move and the mind sharpen at the same time.
Mixtapes, but now I'm an MC. I got the rhymes and beats.
Los Angeles at golden hour, sun on the dash, the radio low enough to hear your own thoughts. Mixtapes, from World Ultimate, captures the purest mid-90s LA underground. Two voices, Sack and Yusef afloat, gliding over jazz-tinted loops with a patience that reads as confidence. The concept is beautifully ordinary, trading tapes, curating taste, but the craft is meticulous.
I used to sell mixtapes, but now
The drums sit laid back without ever dragging. The bass hums like asphalt heat. The sample breathes, not as nostalgia, but as habitat. Word choice stays conversational, which is exactly why the internal rhymes feel inevitable, not forced. You can hear the city's pace in the cadence. Long vowels, late entrances, lines that slip a half beat behind the snare and still land square.
Hit the rewind and move and turn the black plate. Get you a tape, watch the coup.
Where much of the era chased maximal punch, the Nonce trusted feel. Micro swings, unhurried diction, sun-faded textures. The result is a time capsule that never ages. A reminder that underground doesn't have to mean abrasive, and that everyday detail, rendered cleanly, can be the most generous kind of storytelling. By the 2010s, plenty of artists blended rap with abstraction. Shabazz Palaces made abstraction feel like a place you could walk around in. On, Are You, Can You, Were You, Felt, from Black Up, Ishmael Butler and Tendai Morer design a track-like architecture. Rooms of polyrhythm open into corridors of negative space. Hand percussion converses with sub-bass. A vapor trail hook appears, dissolves, and then returns from a different angle. Vocals aren't glued to the grid. They orbit it, approaching and retreating like a camera choosing depth of field. The Afrofuturist impulse isn't window dressing. It's the organizing logic. Cycles instead of straight lines. Ancestry in the drum pattern. Tomorrow in the synth smear. Every sound has a spiritual job. To blur the border between chant and chorus, ritual and loop. On paper, it's experimental. In the ear, it's seductively physical. A low end that sways your shoulders while the meter keeps shifting underfoot. You don't memorize a track like this. You revisit it, because it keeps rearranging the furniture while you're gone.
Cash low and it's no cash. Get it in. And you're riding no L's, no tag. Get it in. And she looking like you ain't gon'.
Where most producers carve noise out of a mix. Clipping. Carve a mix out of noise. Work. From CLPPNG is musique concrete smashed into rap form. Field hiss, impact pops, and machine whine become drums. A sub-pulse acts like an elevator cable running through the building. Cock pistol crease hook flickers like a neon sign in rain.
Unless I'm running a target, never catch me in a large crowd. Unless I'm the life of the party, I've been heating from September.
Davey Diggs doesn't simply rap fast. He raps precisely inside an environment that keeps refusing comfort. Consonants become hi-hats, rests become threats. The verse as a whole, a proof that technique can be narrative when the soundstage is this brutally intentional. What reads as harshness on first listen reveals design on the second. Delays time to syllables, spatial cues that tell you where the voice is standing, dropouts that function like jump cuts.
Get that work, make that work, work. Get that work, make that work, work.
The brutalism isn't a dare. It's a lens to see labor, grind, and menace as they actually feel. Fragmented, metallic, continuous. The track's achievement is twofold. It makes conceptual sound art visceral and makes high-wire rap inevitable inside that storm.
Stack up what this, your mind on. You're big, but some of them are bigger. They like the girl with the booty.
Before grime, before road rap, there was a question. What does British hip-hop sound like when it stops borrowing voices? Money Mad, from Gangster Chronicle, is one of the answers that stuck. Rodney P and bionic rap in UK accents without apology. Patois, London slang, local cadence, over classic breaks cut with sound system sensibility. The topic is universal. Cash pressure, hustles, the arithmetic of survival. But the reportage is British to the bone. Bus routes and back alleys, council flats and corner shops, humor as armor. The flow patterns tilt forward, less bounce than stride. Ad-libs puncture lines like a friend interrupting your story to co-sign the details. Production nods to reggae and dancehall in the bass weight, and the way the snare answers the vocal like a call and response tradition. What matters historically is permission. After this, whole generations felt licensed to sound like home. Skengdo and AM to Little Sims. Grime's pirate radio mania to UK hip-hop's documentary tone. Money Mad didn't just travel, it rooted, and because of that, a country's cadence found its spine. The journey doesn't end here, hip-hop warrior. Watch this next.